Hello everybody, I'm Evian and we are going through how to make a Stardew Valley mod. Today I'm just going to go back through the wiki because we did our events video and there's a whole lot of things that I didn't cover. So I was just going to pull up the events modding wiki and go through the different commands with you that you can use as a quick reference. Starting here, so this is the top of our event wiki page. I will put this link in the description. Sorry, I have a cat behind me. So I'm going to put the link in the description so you can look at it, but this is just going to be a run through of what's here, how to read it, and how to find things that I may not have covered in my event video. It does go over, again, the event ID and the preconditions, which we did talk about in our video. Also lists out a whole bunch more of possible preconditions you can use. For example, it has one for the amount of golden walnuts used, if there's a festival, what the weather is, different things like that. With 1.6, the name of your argument, which is this column right here. Oh, that didn't do one column at a time. This very first column is going to be what you put in your precondition. The alias was used in an earlier version of Stardew Valley. So what you're going to want to do, for example, instead of T, you're going to want to spell out time just like it has right there. Anything in between the caret brackets is going to be a value. So for example, you could say time at 6 o'clock instead of the caret bracket min. You would just put 6. So it's going to be min is minimum, max is maximum. So between like 6 and noon will be 600 or 1200, just like you would on a clock without the colon. It does use military time. So if you go into like 1 o'clock, it's going to say 1300. And then if you keep going, this is going to tell you how to check the character specific preconditions. So friendship, if you have a roommate, if you've seen an event, things like that. This section is host player, which is the person hosting the game, or yourself if you are playing a single player mode. Now is the event script section. This, I've only used a handful of these because there are a lot of fancy things you can do. And when I planned my events so far, I have kept things more on the simple end. But there's a lot of things here. So, for example, if you want to add a prop from the Craftables style sheet, say you want there to be a jam keg, you can add a big prop, your coordinates on your map, and then the object ID, which is going to be specific to the Craftables style tile sheet. When I do a map making video, I will go over your coordinates and your ID tiles a little bit more in depth. Adding a conversation topic. This is what happens when you have your event and then all the NPCs talk about the event afterwards, or a select few, or just one, depending on what you want to happen. Excuse me. So, for example, with I'm trying to think of an example from my garden cottage mod. Let's use Howie's glasses because we've been using that a lot as an example. So Howie's going to go to his eye doctor appointment, come back with glasses and show the farmer his glasses. Well, pretty much everybody in town is going to be able to see that Howie got new glasses. So what I can do is I can say add conversation topic. I'm going to name his glasses event topic, so it might be Howie's glasses might be the name of my ID. Actually, what I do is I put a TGC for the garden cottage and then an underscore and then the name. So it would be TGC underscore Howie's glasses would be what I would name it. And then the length is going to be the length of days I want people to talk about his glasses. So if I want 3 days, it would be a 3. If I want a full week, I would put a 7 and so on. You can add cooking recipes. You can add crafting recipes. You can add a prop from the current festival texture. So usually it's going to be like one square would be the solid, but you can adjust it here with the solid width and solid height. By solid, they mean that your farmer is not able to walk through it. You can add an item to the player inventory. So, for example, when you go visit Granny Evelyn and she gives you cookies, this is the bit of code that adds the cookies to your inventory. If you want to add a light, this add lantern will add an extra light for your events. You can add a specific object. So in my geode events, I am planning to go back in and add the geode that how it gets cracked, and what I will need to do is add an object that shows off the geode after it's cracked. Now that I have made the object, I can now add that in. Let's see, add a prop is similar to add floor prop, but you can change. Some of these are going to be similar in how they work, with just little differences. And if you could read over here, you can read the differences. So for example, a solid prop means the character can't walk through it at all. And then floor prop means, as I understand this, means you can walk through it. See, adding a quest, this is going to be something where you see the event. And then during the event, somebody says, hey, can you go and get me this? And you can add a quest using this add quest ID. Similar with special orders. The biggest difference is going to be the difference between a quest and a special order. I believe the special order has a limited time frame, whereas a quest will stay in your notebook until it's completed altogether. Temporary actor. This is how I added the chicken in Louie's chicken event at the farm. Was I added a temporary actor. I assigned it the chicken sprite that's already in the game. And then anytime I referenced chicken actor in my event, it would then move the chicken around. But at the setup, you would put this at the beginning of your event to assign an actor to this temporary actor, and use a temporary actor. That's for characters that aren't there all the time. Things like you want a chicken, or it's going to be a one-time pop-in actor, and you basically just assign it a sprite and set this in your event, and then you can use them for the duration of that event. If you want to use them in multiple events, you might want to actually make them a non-friendable NPC. And we'll go over that when we go over character data. Advanced move, well, you did see this when I was building my event. This is how I made everybody walk around in the event. You can change your ambient lighting. You can open the animal naming menu. You can do an animation. I believe, yes, I have used this one. This one I used in the very first time you meet Father Joseph, when the goose chases him away from the sandwich. And at the start of the event, he is sitting there eating his sandwich. In his sprite sheet, I have little frames of him holding the sandwich and lowering the sandwich and taking a bite. And this is how I did that, is it's animate name of your NPC, if you need the frame to face the other direction or not, if you want it looped or not. The standard frame duration, I believe, is 250, and then the frames that make up the animation. And then you just put that in, and it'll animate and loop if you've told it to loop. You can attach a temporary sprite to an actor. So if you have somebody in a different costume for something, that might be a good way to do that. There's some festival-related commands in here. Let's see. If it's a multiplayer and you need everybody to see the event, I believe that is what broadcast event is used for. And some of these are what is used to trigger very specific things. So the cave, where Demetrius comes and says, can I make your cave a mushroom cave or a bat cave? And you say, which one you like, that's what that one is. So not everything in here is going to be something that's used in every event. Some of this is just it's very specific situations. Change location. So say you start out in the blacksmith and then you change to the town map. This is how that is done. So you add change location and then the location name of the place you're moving to. We can go through, you can change your portraits, you can change your sprites. See, do action. So if there's an action tile on the map and you need the character to do that action, that is how you do that, is just do action. And the XY, I believe, is the trigger tile, so it's specific to that. Through for the things. And there's a lot of things here that you can go through and just look at your command and then what it actually does over here. And some of it you might want to plug in and then test your event and see how it plays out, to see if it does what you're hoping it does. Let's see. The face direction will choose like the 1, 0, 1, 2, or 3 corresponds to that little chart we looked at, and will make your NPC face the different directions. And actor, if you use farmer, or if you use the internal name of a different NPC, it works for both. Fork is where your event needs to go to either event version A or event version B, depending on a choice. To my knowledge, this only works for 2 options. It's going to be an A or B choice. If you need to do more than 2 options, I recommend, I believe it's down here, I believe it's a switch event. Switch event. So switch event can do more than 2 options. It works very similar to a fork. When you put switch event, you make a new event ID, and you can have as many options as you have, like it's like a question. So it's as many options as you can fit in the questions. I've done, I want to say 3 was my highest, but I have seen people do a whole lot of different things and get really fancy with the switch event. They have also stop animation. If you had a animation running, stop animation will stop that animation. So you can have it loop up to a point and then hit stop animation and then have that character do something else. If you need your NPC to run, you can use this speed, and then you just bump up the speed to like a 4 or a 5. Your default speed is 3. If you want somebody to move really slowly, you might drop it down to a 1. Skippable is the command that pulls up the little skip button in the bottom corner if you need your event to be skipped. There is a skip actions command. So if you have the skippable, you're going to want this skip. I think it might have been above skippable. Set skip actions is what it is. Here it is, set skip actions. And what you do is you put set skip actions, and then you can use this formatting here to set what happens. So if you need a specific conversation topic, if an event is skipped or something, you can do that. One thing I did in my events for Jackie in my Garden Cottage mod is she has an event where she falls and the farmer can help her. However, if you skip the event, I needed somebody else to come help her. So if you skip the event, you'll get a special conversation topic that tells you that Shane came along to help her, largely because it was in a direct line from Jojo Mart. So that is who I thought was most likely to be walking home from Jojo Mart. There are also different things here that you can set. For example, your viewport move will move your camera. Wait for all stationary will tell the event to wait for all the NPCs to stop moving. If you use the proceed position, you can tell the event to wait for a specific NPC to stop moving. That is up here. I'm jumping around. These are listed alphabetically, by the way. There is your proceed position. Position offset. I used this one when I had Father Joseph sitting on a bench. You can adjust it by a certain amount until you get the NPC exactly positioned the way you want to line up with certain things, for example, a bench in your events. So there are a lot of different things on here, and I would say just read through your wiki, see what things you can use, think about what the different commands might do for you in your event. And there's a lot here you can play with. I hope you found this little run through of the wiki useful. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.